Welcome back to Week 3 Monday Night Football Prop Shop Edition. I am your host, Bobby Stanley, also known as PropHolliday on social media, rocking with JD and the GoldBoys. Before we get into tonight's games, I want to talk about the Diddy allegations. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about, is it real? We're going to go through the top teams that are overperforming, underperforming, and is it real? First one up, Steelers, 3-0. Let's go over some stats. Best defense in the league, 24th in points per game offensively, but number one defensively in yards per game, points per game. Justin Fields, highest completion percentage in his career at 73%, highest passer rating in his career, one game-winning drive in 3 weeks. His career high is 2 in a season, something to monitor. Lowest interception percentage in his career. Do I think you go to Russ? Absolutely not. Do I think Justin Fields has made some Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold-like jump? Also no. Still the same yards per attempt and passing yards per game, but his sack rate is down drastically. He's not playing from behind. He's making plays when he needs to. This is a fun playoff team that's probably not going to get past the first round if Fields is the quarterback. You could define real as whatever you want. They're a playoff team. They're the best defense in the league, and Fields is playing the best ball of his career. Don't know if that makes him a Super Bowl contender just yet, but they're 3-0. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-0. Second best scoring defense in the league. Everybody's talking about Darnold, but defensively, they're really good. Fourth best EPA per play, seventh best yards per play. This is all defensively. And they just locked up the Texans offense yesterday. Darnold, career best yards per attempt, QB passer rating, QBR passer rating, touchdown percentage, completion percentage. He's done all of this without TJ Hawkinson and for the most part without Jordan Addison. The best version of this team we may not have seen yet, and the NFC appears to be in flux, in my opinion. This could be Detroit from 2 years ago with the potential to make an NFC championship game. I'm on board. Yes, they're real. Seattle Seahawks, 3-0. Second best yards per game defensively, fewest first downs per play. Interesting stat. Kenneth Walker has been out the last two, but they beat the Broncos, the Patriots in overtime, and the Dolphins without Tua. I'm not sold on them just yet based on that resume. Any team led by Geno Smith, I think, has a ceiling. They could win the division, but until I see them play the Niners, the Rams, or the Cardinals, I'm not jumping in and viewing them like I do Minnesota or Pitt, but they're a nice story at 3-0. Last team I want to talk about, New Orleans Saints. They're 2-1. They blew the doors off Carolina in week 1. They blew the doors off Dallas in week 2. And if Dallas taught us anything yesterday, they're a mess and they're slow to start. They lost a dogfight yesterday with Philly on a short week, 21st in opponent yards per game. So they give up a ton of yards per game. But the Saints have allowed minus 83 rushing yards over expected. Positive rushing yards only given up on 12.5% of carries and a 26.8% success rate on rush attempts. All of those three things rank first. So if you're betting a running back on a player prop, look to fade them against the Saints. They're minus 83 rushing yards over expected and 12% of positive rushing yards allowed is top 3 since 2018. They arguably have an elite level run defense is what this is telling us. It's 3 weeks. Despite with the best rush defense, they have the second highest rate of dime package. That's 6 defensive backs this season. They run dime almost 29% of snaps, and they have a great run defense. That's a recipe for success. Offensively, Carr has only been pressured on 23.8% of his dropbacks, his lowest pressure rate since 2018. So he's getting more time. Now, the Saints have kept Carr clean using play-action passing on 45% of his dropbacks so far, the highest rate since the inception of next-gen stats. So they're using a lot of play action, but it's getting him time in the pocket. He's making really, really good throws. He's completed 12 of 17 play action attempts for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 11.4 yards per attempt. Carr only threw 3 play action touchdowns in all of 2023. So I'm willing to believe, again, in the NFC, that the Saints are real. They could be a top 4 seed at the end of the season, and certainly I can see them winning the NFC South. So Saints, I'm in on. Minnesota, I'm in on. Pittsburgh, depends what your definition is. Seattle, I want to see a little bit more. Let's talk about tonight's doubleheader in Monday Night Football. I actually enjoy these. We get an early game, we get a late game. Those on the East Coast get to watch a little bit more football before they pass out at halftime of the late game. Jags plus 5.5 heading to Buffalo. The line opened at 5. It has since moved to 5.5. The Jags are hoping to avoid an 0-3 start, while the Bills are looking to go 3-0. Total opened at 49, down to 46.5. So some line movement there. Storyline for tonight that I'm seeing a lot of people on: Gabe Davis returns to Buffalo. I'm seeing people do the 100 yards and a touchdown. Maybe. I don't really see the edge there, but I get the storyline angle. Not for me. Jags play a good amount of man coverage, so maybe we finally get the Dalton Kincaid game. I wanted that 2 weeks ago. I never got it. Teron Johnson and Terrell Bernard, defensive players for the Buffalo Bills, are out tonight. The Jags cannot afford to go 0-3 and then catch a Texans team next week coming off a loss. I'm actually going to take the Jags with the points tonight. I would get the 5.5. Great teaser game if you can get it up over 11.5. But I think the Jags make it competitive. The Bills should win this outright. Depends on what version of Josh Allen we get. Are we going to get some turnovers? Is he going to fumble the ball? Are we going to see him throwing deep? We'll talk about more on my plays tonight, who I like from them. But taking the 5.5 with the Jacksonville Jags. In the late game, another 0-3 team. We get the Commanders. They're 1-1. But Commanders, it went +7, +7.5, depending where you're shopping around. They're going to Cincinnati. Line has stayed flat at 7.5. Total opened at 48, down to 46.5. So 2 46.5s. That should indicate some back and forth. Odds are one of these is going to be a complete dud. Injuries. Clelin Ferrell, the defensive tackle, was drafted by the Raiders out of the first round. It was a reach. He is now a Washington Commander, but he is out tonight. The Bengals, the storyline we're getting, T. Higgins is back tonight. That's a fun one to see this offense finally click all together. He has missed the first 2 weeks. They are looking to avoid going to 0-3. Jaden McDaniels gets his first crack at a man-heavy defense. He's been playing nothing but zone through the first 2 weeks. His completion percentage is one of the highest we've seen for rookies. I think he's at like 75 or 79%. It's been absurd, but he's getting everything they're drawing up for him. They're giving to him with these underneath throws. So that will be an interesting storyline tonight. Jaden McDaniels versus a man defense. Can he throw receivers open? That will be big. As far as who the Bengals are, we got the opening week version against New England where they ruined everyone's survivor pool. We got the week 2 version where they got Patrick Mahomes with the refs in week 2. I think their level of play, especially with T. Higgins back, is going to be closer to that week 2. So I am laying the 7.5 with Cincinnati. I am taking the 5.5 with the Jags. And let's talk about my plays for tonight. Keon Coleman, rookie wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. I got him at 34.5 receiving yards. You could play this to 36.5. This is a 1-unit play for me. Nice start in week 1 for Coleman, rookie out of Florida State. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 51 yards. He was held completely in check against the Dolphins last Thursday Night Football. That was the James Cook game. He had 3 touchdowns. They were never at any risk of never at any risk of jeopardizing that game. I do think the Jags make this competitive. So we see a little bit more pass-heavy attack. The reason I'm high on Coleman, Jacksonville plays man coverage at the highest rate in the NFL. Now, no Bills receiver has more than 1 catch against man coverage this season, but Coleman has the highest target share against those looks that they got in man coverage. That means a little bit to me. I've been riding this trend. Went 2-0 yesterday with the Kyle Pitts, Rashee Rice, just playing the coverage schemes. So Coleman, I think, should thrive against man coverage, being able to get open in short spaces. His 12.7 yards per reception week 1 is a good indication. This could be done in as little as 3 catches. I'm expecting him to get in that 5 to 7 target range tonight. He's running 90% of the routes. That is more than Ladd McConkey, Polk, Adonai Mitchell, more than all those rookies. He is on the field. We just didn't really see him last week. They didn't really need him last week. So I like this line at 34.5. I think it's a good matchup. He can win in spaces. He can create yak. It's a matter of chemistry at that point. The fact that he was left out completely in week 2, they didn't need him with Josh Allen. But now you're getting almost a week and a half to prepare for this Jags team. You go from Thursday Night Football to Monday Night Football. That's where that chemistry is going to get built up. Over 34.5 for Keon Coleman. I would play it up to 36.5. If you're looking for some same game parlay lines, throw his 50 plus in there. Throw his 25 plus in there, depending if you're building it. I like Keon Coleman. A lot of smart people are on Shakir tonight, Khalil Shakir. He is the slot receiver. He does have a good matchup out of the slot. I'm going with my gut. I'm going with Keon Coleman. I don't think you can go wrong with either. If you are betting on Bet365, apparently I'm the Bet365 guy. Bet365 is offering new users two great options. Go for the first bet safety net up to $1,000. You place the bet. If it loses, they will refund you back $1,000 in bonus bets, or bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Decide whichever deal works best for you by clicking the link in the episode description. Must be 21 plus, 18 plus in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Go to the late game. I was up in the air on this one as far as where I wanted to play it. I did give one prop out. I didn't get, for my producer who's listening. Don't feel bad. I didn't give you the pick. I'm just talking out loud. I like Jaden Daniels under 18.5 completions, but I didn't want to bring it under to the table. I'm curious how he's going to react against a man coverage defense here. The play that I do want to talk about is Austin Ekeler. So Eckler's played about 50% of the snaps for the first 2 weeks. He was played predominantly more in the Tampa Bay game in week 1 where they were playing from behind. I think that's going to mimic a little more what we see tonight with the Bengals. Week 2 didn't get as much of a snap, didn't get as high of a snap count playing the New York Giants. It was a Brian Robinson show. That's fine. For the game script tonight, I like Ekeler over 18.5 receiving yards. He's crushed this in both of the first 2 games. So even though a snap count came down in week 2, he still blew this line out of the water. Commanders should be playing from behind. If he doesn't hit this in the first half, or he's not get there in the first half, don't feel bad. Don't lose hope, and don't burn your ticket and cash that out. He was a check down option for the second half of that Tampa Bay Bucs loss, where they lost by double digits. He had 3 receptions for 30 yards in the fourth quarter alone. I like this tonight. I think it fits into the game script. He also has a good history against Cincinnati. I know that's not applicable like we look at basketball stats, but I like Ekeler tonight playing the game script, giving the 7.5 points if I'm the Bengals. I do think we see a little bit more of him. So Ekeler over 18.5 receiving yards if you can get it. And let's talk about my touchdown liquor cabinet. Last night was a fun one. Touchdown liquor cabinet was Rashee Rice for the 1 unit. That cashed at plus 120. The second one, the mid-shelf, was Kyle Pitts. He went down at the 1 yard line. That was plus 200. And then my long shot was Patrick Mahomes. I did say Juju Smith-Schuster's name in the show, but I wasn't serious about it, so I'm not going to take credit for that. But Juju did score. For tonight, my top shelf is very simple. It's Jamar Chase. It's plus 120. We're dying for this Jamar Chase breakout game. Yes, T. Higgins is back. I actually think that may help Chase a little bit more as far as defensively what they're going to be able to throw at him. This Washington Commanders defense is atrocious. Malik Neighbors had his first good game in week 2 against Washington. That secondary is bad. I think Chase finally gets on the board. It's plus 120. This is my 1 unit top shelf TD score. Jamar Chase at plus 120 on Bet365. I think it's plus 110 on DraftKings and FanDuel, depending where you're shopping around. Get it at plus money. It's a good play. Mid shelf. 2 guys I already talked about. I don't want to come out here and just start throwing names for the sake of throwing names. If I got to read on someone, that's where I'm betting. And I'm going to go mid-shelf. Austin Ekeler. I got it at plus 425. Hit the button when I submitted it over and then went to ran it back and went down to plus 375. Still love it. Still love Austin Ekeler. I think he finally gets one in the end zone. Give me Ekeler at plus 425 as my mid-shelf. Bring that unit size down, quarter, half a unit we're talking about. And then Keon Coleman, plus 300. He's another guy. I really love him tonight. I think 3-1 is good considering he's running 90% of the snaps. May finally be a Dalton Kincaid night. If you're shopping it around to the producer, no, you don't have the ticket. I was just odd shopping while we were sitting waiting for the show. Plus 200 on Dalton Kincaid. Someone else to keep in mind tonight. I'm not giving you Josh Allen at minus 120. I'm not giving you James Cook at minus 110. I don't really see the value there. But Keon Coleman and Austin Ekeler are my mid-shelf. I parlayed those together for plus 1895 on DraftKings. And I put like a quarter of a unit. I would put a quarter of a unit. I put a bonus bet on there for $10, but 10 to win 185. We get one from Keon Coleman in the early game, one from Austin Ekeler in the late game. Those are 2 guys I'm high on. And Vaca, I feel like I'm in Brokeback Mountain. I just can't quit you, Luke McCaffrey. Plus 700 on FanDuel, plus 750. I think I saw it in the middle of the afternoon. Luke McCaffrey has the most separation against man coverage of any wide receiver on the Washington Commanders. I think it was like an 87% separation rate. Problem was he doesn't get targeted too much. He did get targeted in that week 1 blowout against Tampa. So I think he's an interesting play here. Plus 750, plus 700. You could do a lot worse. I saw it at plus 400 on Bet365 to get it almost double the odds over on FanDuel. Luke McCaffrey in a blowout. We could see some Luke McCaffrey stats tonight. So He is my Well Vodka choice. Well Vodka gets Well Vodka prices. Use no sweats, use bonus bets, use $5, $10, whatever your unit size is. So quick recap. Jamar Chase, top shelf, 1 unit. Mid shelf, half unit, quarter unit, Austin Eckler, Keon Coleman. Well Vodka, Luke McCaffrey, plus 700, plus 750, wherever you can get it. My 2 favorite plays, Eckler over 18.5 receiving, and Keon Coleman over 34.5 receiving. I know I'm heavy on the receiving stuff, guys. It's just that's where all my data is. That's where all PFF and NFL Pro give me is man coverage, zone coverage, weak matchups. And then we have 2 46.5 spreads tonight. So we should see some scoring. Love Keon Coleman. Sprinkle a little bit of Dalton Kincaid wherever you can in your same game and your no sweats. That is all I have for you tonight. I thank you so much for tuning in. We have a little bit of a late start, but I will see you Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time to go over Thursday Night Football. I think it's Dallas and the Giants, which should be a shit show, but we'll make fun of it. We will have fun with it in the betting space. You guys have a good rest of your night.